Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coach's Corner. What's for watching the show? I'm your host, Coach Tripp, along with Blaze Winter, Syracuse defensive lineman and NFL veteran, 11-year NFL vet. He is on our Wednesday night shows with Bill Pendock, my high school teammate. Down below us, Billy Pendock, great defensive lineman at Syracuse, part of the four-wheel drive, as we honor four-wheel drive every Wednesday night with these guys, half of it, right? Timmy Green is the other quarter, and Jamie Kimmel is the fourth leg in the four-wheel drive show. But we're doing a little bit different segment today. I guess you could call it Interview Coach Tripp, because I don't like talking about myself, but because when you sing your own praises, you always get the wrong pitch. So, but Billy asked me to do this. I did it about 7-8 years ago with Jody Mabry on my radio show, but we'll see how it goes. Billy, you can start out with any question you want, and you want to start out from the beginning, let me know, buddy.
Yeah, Blaze, I'm going to take the lead on this, and then I'll send it back and forth if you got some questions.
Absolutely.
Now, I've known Paulie for a long time. You know, we grew up, we kind of, I think we were probably, 14, 15, around that age. You know, we growing up at Liverpool, and I kind of know a lot about his background. I kind of know a little bit about his parents. I've been around his family, not a ton, but enough to, and again, he was one of my brothers at Liverpool. We played together, and I put together some questions things that I never knew about him, things that I'd like to know, and I think a few things that the people would like to know, and again, I mean, when you look at where he came from and where he went, and a lot of things that I didn't see coming. I mean, I seen a guy that came out of high school as probably one of the top, maybe top 5, maybe top 3 best athletes in our school at that time. And I'm talking 4,500 kids in a district, So, and I remember Paulie playing 4 sports. I remember him playing 4 sports: golf, football, track, and what was basketball.
Yeah, I had to decide between basketball.
What position on the football field? What position were you primarily?
Running back and defensive back.
Yeah.
Play both ways. I had to talk George into playing both ways. He was just going to play me at running back.
Now, my first question to Paul is, you were a 4-sport athlete in high school. Which sport and why? Now, which sport was your favorite? I know you pursued football, but what sport was your favorite in high school?
Football was my passion. Football was my passion. I loved the sport. I loved all sports, and that's why I'm still a multiple sport advocate. But I got to credit my dad for getting me to play golf at 5 years old. I was on the 5th and 6th grade basketball team in 3rd grade. Okay, 3rd grade. You know why? Because my father started our youth basketball program in our community. My father started our youth football program in our community. He was a youth baseball coach. He was my best man at my wedding, my best friend. He was a sports nut, my father was. He would take me to hockey practice, and when I was 7 years old, at 5 o'clock in the morning every Saturday, to an outside rink, an outdoor rink. Sit there, drink coffee with his fedora hat on and long coat, and he would never complain, man. He was always up. He started our high school hockey program, and he didn't even know how to skate. Didn't know how to skate. And he started our high school hockey program because he knew it needed one. And then he turned it over to somebody who knew what he was doing. Him and his Goomba, Italian buddies, and my dad would hold the chains for years and years at our high school football games. He ran the clock at our high school basketball games for decades. My father did. He was a president of the club. I mean, he just, I can go on and on about my dad, but
what motivated him, Trip? What motivated him to get involved with everything? Was it you and your brothers, or was it the way he was raised?
He was just like I said, he was a sports nut. And he loved kids. He loved kids. He was a kid at heart. And I'm grateful that God put so many people in my life, like my mother and my father. But He also gave me great examples of other coaches. And Joe Riccardi was a great mentor. And that was my dad in a nutshell. My
Billy,
mom.
did you know him, Billy? Did you know his father?
Absolutely.
He's involved in everything, huh? That's amazing, man. That is absolutely amazing.
Everything he's saying about Dominic, his father, was right on. And the funny thing was, Blaze, my father was just the opposite. My father was a supporter, but my father was very, very, very quiet. Never would volunteer. Huh?
You used to call your mom Lou. What was your father's name, Billy?
His was William too. It was the same as mine, but different personality. He was just different than Paulie's. But I want to move on here. One more. Now, Paulie, we're going to move into college. We're going to move right up into your trip. You picked Alabama. You went to Alabama as a walk-on. Now, back in 1980, 79, 80, 81, walk-ons were treated differently than a lot of scholarship players. Now, we're going to get into that later, but I want to know, and I know this was relevant for me and Blaze. We were New York guys, and we went to Syracuse, and even though it was close, there was those days when we felt homesick. There was those lousy days when you wanted to go home, and we all had it. Now, what was your feeling like with your homesickness about being in Alabama, so far away from Syracuse, Liverpool, New York?
Well, to be honest, I didn't even know where it was on the map, on the United States map. I had no idea. I got off the plane. I got off the plane in Birmingham and walked outside and thought I had landed 8 miles from the sun. I've never experienced so much heat. It was an hour drive with Coach Ken Donahue, who should be in the Hall of Fame, and he didn't say 3 words to me on the whole trip. And I didn't know one single person when I got there.
Wow.
When I opened my mouth, they just made fun of me. They knew I was not from that area. So it was a long road to hoe. I met a couple people, a couple other walk-ons there. My first roommate was Preston Gothard. He's hilarious, country boy from Montgomery. You talk about odd couple. I mean, you couldn't have got any more different than us two, but we just clicked. And, we just made each other laugh, and he helped me through. My first wife, Dana Tripoli, she was a steady influence on me. When I got to Bama, I was a little bit wild, but most of the kids there. Most of the players there were straight-laced, everything by the book. They went to school. They were just good Christian kids that were good examples for me. Coaches were the same way. I mean, I couldn't believe when I walked out.
Time out. I want to know, I mean, we've all been there, but I want to know, when was your time that you wanted to call home or you wanted to get on a plane and go back home? Because I know everybody's kind of been
numerous times. I can't even count how many times I wanted to go home. Okay. From the equipment that I got to the treatment that walk-ons got to a freshman. You got to remember, man. People have to put in context what Alabama was like back then. They just won back-to-back titles in 78, 79. So they were going for a three-peat in 1980. And they were serious. Now, yes, I played for George O'Leary, and he was tough, and he was everything that a coach should be. But let me tell you, nothing like the intensity and the passion of football in the South, especially at Alabama.
Yeah.
It opened my eyes, and I said, "What the hell am I doing here? Where even am I? I don't belong here. I can't talk to these people. I don't know anybody." I said, "I just don't belong here." So I would call my mother, father, and there was no going back. I just couldn't.
Trip, who was the first superstar that actually embraced you and got you to see, hey, man, the value of staying put, working through it, not other walk-ons? I mean, for me, a superstar was Billy Pendot. I mean, Jamie Kimmel. These are highly recruited dudes that, number one, for Billy made me laugh, made me feel welcome, and he was untouchable. I mean, he had 100+ offers. I had none. So who was the first superstar that actually sat with you in the lunchroom, the cafeteria, and actually said, hey, man, you'll be all right?
Great question.
Yeah, I mean, I was, when I got there were all Americans ahead of me, Jeremiah Castile and Tommy Wilcox. Tommy Wilcox was a great example for me. He never treated me any different than anybody else. Tommy Wilcox, I saw him a couple of weeks ago. We had a reunion for Coach Lewis Campbell, my DB coach up in Tuscaloosa. But Tom was, one of the players there. It was some of the assistant coaches, the strength coach. Ken Johnston was in my corner. Murray Legg, Ken Johnston, Murray Legg.
Best.
Ken Johnston's the best, man. He never said a bad word about anybody, but he was actually my strength coach in college and in the pros, and he was assistant DB coach at Alabama. Kent was. So a lot of people don't realize that.
He's a legend.
Kent just kept my head on straight. He was a real influence on me. Al Miller never took preference between a walk-on or now the equipment guy would. They would give you poor equipment, and have no elastic in my socks, or and Willie Meadows just say, "You ain't go back to your locker and be thankful you got anything at all."
Yeah.
I understood that there was a difference. I understood that walk-ons would have to get one chance when scholarship players would get 4 or 5 chances at the same drill, the same play, the same or you would do this was another thing we had to go through. I would make a mistake, and a starter would make the very same mistake, and he would say nothing to the starter, but he would jump all over me. Okay, so I had to take that kind of heat. But yeah, there were times where I wanted to strangle my DB coach, and I got to give credit to my first wife. She walked me off the ledge quite a bit. Dana did, and kept me focused. Yeah, she kept me focused, and without her, I would have never made it.
Did you meet Dana at college?
College. We started dating our freshman year, and by the time we were seniors, I was the only one on the team that was married. I was the only player married. So she traveled to the bowl games with us, and she was, so I was the only one there. But there was a lot of people in my corner. My mother, my mom was our rock in our family. My mom, she was a strong, courageous, spiritual lady who grew up on a dairy farm in upstate New York, and her father was abusive. So we were talking off air, 6 or 7 people out of 10 have gone through abusive relationships or something. So my mom overcame so much. She was pregnant 6 times with boys. She had 2 miscarriages. I was the last boy born. So if it wasn't for those 2 miscarriages, we wouldn't be talking here today.
Wow.
So God works in mysterious ways. She got cancer at 40 years old. I was 10 years old when my mom got sick. So my brothers were soon gone off to college. And so my dad tried to keep things together when I was a teenager, which he tried his best, but I went off the rails quite a few times. Okay. I was just a wild kid, and I liked to party. I liked to carouse. I loved people. I would just do off the wall things. I would do risky things. I was a risky person. I remember my first plane ride. I was riding my mini bike through the neighborhood, and Dr. Murray up at camp, our camp up at Lake Ontario, he stopped me and said, "Hey, Paulie, can I take your mini bike for a ride? I'll give you a ride in my airplane." I said, "Dr. Murray, you can have it all as long as you want." So he takes it back a couple hours later, and he made a promise on his airplane ride. So he said, "Paulie," he said, you can pick two buddies to come with you. So of course I go to my brother Scott and one of his friends, and Dr. Murray takes us in the little 4-seater, right? He's in the pilot seat. I'm in the co-pilot. My brother and his friend are in the back. And we take off Lake Ontario over the water. And he says, "Paulie, you can take over the reins. You push in the steering wheel, the plane dips, pull back on it, the plane rises." I said, "Thanks, Dr. Murray. Let's go." Boom, boom, boom. Whoa, he said. He stopped. Oh my God. I almost crashed the plane. I thought I was Snoopy as a pilot, for crying out loud. So so my brother got sick. Him and his buddy got sick, and it was a great story. But I was always pushing the envelope. So it was because of my older brothers. Our family is kind of unique in that way. Is me and two of my brothers played college sports. My other brother, who's the artsy one, he won a sports Emmy for his documentary, a short documentary. So all of us were into sports. And my older brother, Phil and Scott, really shaped my athletic demeanor on the field. They taught me, my brother Scott taught me to be scrappy and relentless. Him and I made up so many games up at camp, athletic games, that it would boggle the mind. My older brother, Phil, he taught me no mercy on my opponent. That's what he taught me. And he taught me, don't be a baby, quit crying, no blood, no foul, and if there is, don't cry around me. So my older brothers, I was always playing with older, faster, bigger, stronger guys, and that molded me. We had a pool table and ping pong table in our basement. So I was, God blessed me. God had blessed me with so much athletic talent that I had to, make a name for himself. In other words, when I could have gone, I didn't have any scholarship offers, but I could have played, Division III basketball and football. But I didn't want to say when I'm 63 years old, what would have been, what could have I done if I didn't try to go and make it at a Division I school? So that drove me, that drive. I think perseverance is omnipotent. I think, education's overrated and all this other stuff. But I think if you have perseverance, then you can overcome almost any situation.
Nice. All right, Paulie, moving on. I want one coach's name that was the biggest, that was the biggest impact on your life. One coach's name.
Bear Bryant.
Who?
Coach Bryant.
That's a heavy one.
I'll tell you why. Coach O'Leary's a close second. Okay, Coach O'Leary's a close second. Coach Kent Johnson, Al Miller are third, fourth in that. But I'll tell you why Coach Bryant changed my life. All right. I was at Alabama my freshman year. I didn't play or dress. I just played on a JV team. My second year, I got redshirted. He called me in the office and said, "We're going to redshirt you. There's too many All-Americans. You're not going to play." So I just practiced all 1981, never dressed for a game. 1982, in the summer, I'm working in a freezer at nighttime from 11 at night till 7 in the morning in Syracuse to try to make money to go to school, right? So I get a call from Coach Ken Donahue, and he says, "Paul, you're going to have to move out of Bryan Hall, the athletic dorm. We got a lot of scholarship freshmen coming in." So I thought to myself, oh my gosh, really? And the year before, I was rooming with a guy. I'm not going to name names, but I was rooming with a guy that wasn't doing really great things. Okay, really kind of illegal things. Okay, and from our dorm room. So I thought that I had gotten caught with something. And when the first day of practice, I was just going through the motions afterward. Now, this is 1982, Coach Bryant's last year. And it was the first day of fall practice. And the manager taps me on the shoulder and said, Coach Bryant wants to see you. And I said, oh, shit. This is the end of my run. It's over. They're going to blame me for this catastrophe in the dorm last year. I said, I'm going home. It's over. I don't want to go see Coach Bryant, but I owe him, what he wants to talk to me about. Well, I go up and his door was always open. And I walk in there and, his desk was up on a little platform and we sat in this old couch still in the Bryant Museum. And you sit down and I looked at him and got Billy Blaze. He says 3 sentences to me and he blows me away with every one of them. He says, Paul, he said, have you found a place to stay? And I said, oh, I was taken back, right? And I said, yes, sir. I found an off-campus apartment. I'm all in and everything. And he says, good. And then he looks at me and he says, I hope this doesn't affect the way you play on the field. And I was taken back again. I was taken aback again, right? Because he knew my psychology better than I did, right? He knew it was affecting me.
Yeah.
I looked at him. What's a 20-year-old kid to say, right? I looked at him. I said, no, sir, it's not going to affect the way I play. And he leans over his desk. He stands up. He looks me in the eye and he says, I didn't think it would.
Are
you kidding me? Listen to what he did. No, listen to the psychology of what he did. The first sentence, he showed me concern and empathy for my situation.
Yes.
The second sentence, he challenged me with his statement and his confirmation, his reaffirmation that he was watching. And then he challenged me and showed me confidence in the last one, in the last sentence. And that's all I needed. I went out and I made, second string cornerback. My name was on the list for the squad, against Georgia Tech, the first game of the year. So I call up all my buddies, my brothers, my parents, and I say, hey, finally made the team, right? So I get there and I'm all excited, my buddies, man. And I'm standing on the sidelines just in all of college football, right? And it was 1982. You guys have already played games and games and games, but I'd never even dressed. So I'm standing on the sidelines, and I'm just happy to be there. I know I'm not going to get in, right? First quarter. Now, you got to remember, Coach Jeff Rousey, who I had on the show last week, he said, him and Coach Campbell, who I had on the show last month, my DB coach, said, Coach Bryant made every single substitution at every single position at every single game he ever coached. That doesn't happen now. It's impossible to happen, but he made it happen. So my buddy says, Coach Bryant's calling your name, Trip. I said, no way. There's no way. I said, you're mistaken. He called me Tripodi the first couple of years. I don't think he's got it right. No, he's calling your name. I get up to him. Coach Bryant, yes, sir, yes, sir. Get in for Stan Gay. I said, now?
That's the Ohio State moment. Yeah.
That was the first thing. Hey, and that's how he would test you. That's how Coach Bryant would test you. So that's my story. The rest was history. I lost I got moved to strong safety my second year when Coach Bryant, he retired on my birthday. He called a team meeting in on December 14th, my 21st birthday, and called the team meeting in that night on my birthday. Okay. I had plans, but I went to that meeting. He announced his retirement. It was the worst. My 21st birthday was the worst birthday of my life. Okay. So he died a year later. Coach Perkins comes in. You guys know about transition coaches. Coach moved me to strong safety. My natural position was strong safety. So I'm going into my junior year. I think I'm going to finally win the starting job. Not so fast, my friend. A true freshman took my starting job as a strong safety my junior year. So I played quite a bit. Started a couple of games. Boston College. I got my first start. The next year, I beat him out. I win it. He's backing me up his sophomore year, going into my fifth year, senior year. So I didn't start, and you know what? I only played 60% of the plays my senior year, and I had like second on the team in tackles, second team All SEC, but I only played 60% of the plays. If I'd have played 100% of the plays, who knows what would have happened? So then I became free agent, right, Billy?
Right.
Free agent. Didn't get drafted. 12 rounds. Then Dallas Cowboys called me up in the Cleveland Browns. You got a choice. You can go to Dallas or Cleveland. Now, I wasn't thinking clear, and neither was my agent, because Dallas had Tom Landry, Gene Stallings as a DB coach, and Cleveland had Marty Schottenheimer. So I had a good training camp in Cleveland. I loved it. Hanford Dixon, all those guys up there. The dogs had just kicked up. They called me the white German Shepherd. And Marty just stopped playing me in the preseason. I got cut. But I went up Canada. I played a couple years in Canada. I had a blast in Toronto. Became a starter in Toronto. And had a good career up there. And then in '87, Perkins calls me. I got a position, you can try out for safety. So I'm in the middle. I just went through training camp in Canada, right? They go in training camp in April and start in May, June. So they start their season in June. I play 5-6 games. Perkins calls me up, said, you want to come down to Tampa? I said, if I can get out of my contract. So I went after a training camp in Canada, 4 games in Toronto, right into training camp in the NFL. And they were brutal training camps back then, as you guys know. Perk was a tough taskmaster.
Oh, he was a nut.
Oh, he was a nut. Yeah, we run practices. No, we ran 3 days. We went 3 practices.
Yes. Yeah. Down there in the Florida heat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you were in Jacksonville all those years.
Oh, man. People don't understand three sessions in Florida heat, or even 2 or 1 in Florida heat. It's hell.
So I get cut. Right? I get cut again. I've been cut so many times. I've got a whole, I've got a truckload of Band-Aids. So I get up to so I'm working for a friend of mine. I lived with my dad in his condo in Largo, me and my wife and my little girl. She took the bedroom. My wife and I slept on the pull-out couch. And, he calls me up. The strike happens, and he calls me up because I knew, I was in training camp with him in college. I mean, I knew cornerback, free safety, strong safety. I knew all the positions, right? So he calls me up. And he says, well, you come back, I know you can play corner and strong safety, but we need you at free safety. So we practice, and we get ready for the first game up in Detroit, and I'm starting at free safety in the strike games, and this strong safety from LSU is starting. He wakes up the day of the game, 104, 103 temperature, throwing up, flu, can't play a lick, right? Can hardly stand up. So what's Perk do? He sends me to strong safety right before the game. All right, Tripp, you're going to play strong safety, make all the calls. Well, I ended up with 12 tackles, 2 picks, a pick 6, a fumble, and I tipped another one. I caused 4 turnovers. We come back and beat Detroit. I'm named NFL Defensive Player of the Week. My first game in the NFL. Doesn't get any better than that. Now, I only started 4 games in the NFL, but I did cause 6 turnovers, so that's got to be some kind of record. But NFL stood for not for long with me, okay?
Yeah. Now, Blazy, Paulie, I'm gonna give you another question here. Try to keep it to about 3 or 4 minute answer, okay? Remember what you tell Blaze all the time. All right.
Sounds like me.
Hey, I wanted to give it back to Blaze just one time.
We're kind of running this interview here, so just be respectful of your hosts, okay? All right. Now, what kind of advice would you give a kid that's going to college as a walk-on today?
Oh boy. Find somebody you can learn from. Find somebody you can learn from. Find somebody who's been in your shoes before. Find somebody that's positive. Find a coach that's in your corner and ride it. Don't ever give up, no matter what anybody says. I mean, coaches will. I've had my DB coaches turn in my equipment before. I mean, you just can't listen. You can't listen to any naysayers, man. When I went to Alabama, there were so many of my dad's friends and my brother's friends that said, "Oh, that's been tried before. Are you kidding me? There's no way you can go south. There's no way you can play at that level. There's no way you're good enough. You're not strong enough, fast enough. There's no way. There's so many people that are negative. You have to block them out. You have to find the positivity and just persevere. Like I said earlier, perseverance is omnipotent. Nobody can take that away from you, and it'll take you farther than any other characteristic that you have.
Good. Blaze, you got anything?
I'm a big believer that the greatest gift to each and every one of us is adversity. The greatest gift is adversity. Not a touchdown, but a drop pass, a missed tackle, the coming to terms with I need to change this. How did you, through all this adversity, maintain your drive, your spirit? What was the qualities that were, bullet points to your life?
I think it was the encouragement from people that I trusted and that I loved. I think that helped me. My mom, my dad, my family, my mom, my dad, my older brothers, my first wife, and a couple coaches. That's all it took to keep me going and to keep me steering in the right direction. I remember my first wife. She let me have it and told me that I was complaining and blaming other people for my misfortune, because I had a lot of misfortune. It was a hard road to hoe, but I started blaming other people, and and then my coaches. I was blaming my coaches, or I was blaming this players, or I was blaming the circumstances, or I was blaming where I was from. Yeah, I was blaming other people, and she made me realize that, hey, that's not going to get you anywhere. Keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be on the right path. So
did you ever blame your faith, your belief in God? Did you ever say, there is no God, this is a joke?
Let me tell you. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Blazer. It's a personal thing with me. I wasn't a good Christian when I was younger. I was selfish. I did things that, I thought would just benefit me, but that wasn't right. I didn't really become a true Christian until I was divorced after my first wife when I was like 40, 45. I didn't really, I believed in God. I never really blamed God for that, but I have only me to blame. So I was, I never really blamed God for anything. I was always questioning. I always knew what the right thing to do was, but I never had the full integrity to pull the trigger. But when I got older, I got a little more wise, and I saw the circumstances of bad decisions, and I realized that, I wanted to do the right thing. And I think that might have helped me get into coaching, because coaching was such a fulfillment for me. And I can't tell my story. Good question, Blaze. I can't tell my story without telling about my coaching career. After I got out of football, I got into sales for 30 years, raised my kids. But then when my kids got a little older, I remembered what Ray Perkins, my father, Dynamite Dom, said to me, "Paulie, you'd be a great coach." So I got into coaching, fell in love with it, did it for the last 20 years. I coached, and it was really a way of me giving back my talents to other kids and passing it on, right? Ripple effect.
Yes.
And having a relationship with those kids. I mean, I love those kids like my own sons. And so I'm really thankful that I got to do that. I got to coach. I went to the playoffs, I think 18 out of 19 years. And then I started, and I want to finish, if I can finally mention this. I love talking about sports. I love stories. I love people who overcome hurdles and all that stuff, right? So I started a radio show 14 years ago.
Amen.
It'll actually be 14 years ago this August 23rd. I started my show on a Tuesday, August 23rd, 2011, and that's my father's birthday. Yeah,
Man,
so it's Father's Day. My dad.
Defining moment. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious, Trip. It's very obvious to me and Billy and whoever has been around you, man. You're driven by a handful of people. Obviously, great coaches, great parenting, brothers that pushed you and beat you up and lifted you up. And I think if anyone's listening that is young to this show, I mean, you said it, Billy said it, I've said it. Man, there's something to be gained by listening and getting a word of advice from somebody older than you. It might be a mom and dad. It might be a coach that you look up to or you even don't look up to. I mean, my martial arts teacher said it clearly. The wisdom is everywhere if we're willing to listen.
Right.
And wisdom doesn't come from a fellow 17-year-old in my school or a fellow 15-year-old that knows it all or how to take a selfie in the bathroom. The wisdom comes from someone saying, put the fucking phone down and let's go get it done.
Right.
And you don't want to, but you realize maybe they're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love your story, man.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, man.
Well,
yeah.
I got a couple more questions for you, Paulie. We're running in.
We're rolling.
Okay, now we're gonna think back. Now this is a great question for a lot of different people. Now, you think back to your 4 years of high school, and then think back to your 4 years of college. Now this could be or it couldn't be a tough one. If you had to pick which 4 years that you got the most out of and that you want to go back to, would it be the 4 years you went through high school or the 4 years you went through college?
Oh, wow. That's good.
Oh, my gosh. Billy, that's an outstanding question. No, that's an outstanding question.
That is great.
That's an outstanding question because, all right, let me preface this by saying that I ask that question a lot, Billy, to NFL guys. I ask them, what is their most favorite time in their life? And almost to a T, almost every single one of them does not mention their NFL career, does not mention their college career. Yeah. They mention their high school career. And to me, it molded me to who I am. Yeah, it molded O'Leary. I couldn't have played for Coach Brian without George and without you guys. There's no way. High school was a little more fun. Okay, college was a little bit of work and a little business. Okay, man, college was a lot of business. All right. So yeah, high school definitely was, but I it's a close, Bama's a close second, man. My life is shaped, with Alabama probably more than high school, but I had a lot more. I guess I had closer friends in high school than I did in college. Yeah, yep. And it's that way in the pros too, because you don't, in the pros, everybody's married, got their own families, and they go home after practice. Now, high school, you go home with your buddy, or you go over to his house, or college, you had a girlfriend.
Yeah, you walk home with your buddy. Home with your buddy. Yeah. It's a coming of time of brotherhood that you never had before. So the first time you're brotherhood, and it's just this child innocence of
yes,
this is my brother, man.
Growing up. Yeah, no,
I want to ask Blazer the same question.
I think I'm right with Tripp, man. I think high school gave me hindsight. Now that I see it the way I do, high school gave me a group of other men, boys around me that saw value in me, and we saw value in one another. And if the coach said something, it was gospel. So we did it. It wasn't questioning why. I wasn't in the situation of questioning why am I not playing? I'm sure there's players that were.
Right.
But the 11 that were on the field, that came off the field and went to school together and lived in the same neighborhoods, man, that was a really cool time that, the whole of my face did not matter anymore. The lack of speech, they would defend me in the hallways. They would tell some bully in 9th grade, hey, man, leave him the hell alone. I never had that before. They left me in the dumpster in middle school. They left me to get beat up in elementary school because nobody wanted to take the step. But, man, when the brotherhood starts to form on a football field in high school, hey, man, you leave him the hell alone. And they come to your defense. They come to your side. I don't know if it's still happening the way it did for you, Billy, or me, or Tripp. But, man, that's some of the greatest stuff. And then the business stuff starts at college. And the pro, hey, man, this is a job. Leave me alone. I'm doing my 12 hours. I'm going home. Give me my $100,000. My check for $1 million, whatever. Right. You know what I mean? But, man, the innocence of the game is so beautiful then. And that's what you brought to Syracuse, Billy, when I saw you. You brought a championship quality. But you were one of those dudes, man.
Well, I think, when I was coaching, I let my high school kids know that. I told every single class that I had that it doesn't get any better than this, guys. I don't care. I was in college. I played at the greatest college football team in history, and I said I went to the pros, but, man, it doesn't get any better than this, guys. Enjoy what you're doing with your buddies, man. I would tell them that almost every week.
And people wonder, why don't you go back to your high school? They never let me in for 30 years until 2 years ago. They finally let me in. And who showed up? I mean, all 20, 30, 40 guys that I played with in high school showed up, and they all pointed in my face. We love you. We're so proud of you. And the damn school was the focal point to let us come together. And they were pushing me away for whatever reason. Somebody was jealous. Somebody was hostile. Somebody was whatever reason. Human beings that are adults get ugly with one another. They finally said, we'll let you in because I tried for 30 years. Can I come in? Knock. Can I come in? Can I talk to the peers? Can I see my brothers? And, man, we have such great stories, Tripp.
Yeah.
Great job. Great job.
Awesome. Thanks, Billy. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for doing this, man. I was not looking forward to this show, and I'm like talking about. Awesome. I didn't like talking about myself, but I love stories, and people tell me I got a decent story. So,
got me fired up, man. I'm gonna go out and hit somebody.
For the people listening here and people that watch the show, that every story is going to hit at some point in their life, and I've said it 100 times, and not since doing this show, and I've known Blaze for a long part of my life, and the things I've learned about him that they're very special to me to know, and I never knew a lot of the stuff, and for him, even though we're close, very close, to hear this stuff is very, very, it's just uplifting of hearing it,
It's a
about it.
great platform, Billy. It's a great platform for you and I, and it's a great platform that Tripp gave us to share our journey through life. I mean, we've all had a journey, and somebody should learn or be reminded from this journey. Learn something, or hey, I'm glad that time reminded me, like mama or daddy reminded you, don't do that. You'll get. Hey man, we're just reminding people.
You talk about good stories. This Saturday, I'll run this show tonight. This Saturday, though, Billy Owens and Dwayne Owens from Syracuse, one the University of Pitt, the other one Wake Forest. Great stories there. The following Saturday, Walt Patulski, the first pick of the NFL draft in 1972 of the Buffalo Bills.
Really? You could have
Walt Patulski will be on that. Awesome. Yeah, he's going to tell his story next Saturday, a week from Saturday. So stay tuned for Coach's Corner. We got a lot of great things coming up. I want to thank you guys. Thank you guys for doing this.
Absolutely.
Good job, Billy.
Good job, man.
I'm glad it's archived, and I'm glad I only have to do it every 8 years or so. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, you guys.
Happy Father's
you
Day,
too,
man.
everybody.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
Take care, man.
I love you guys. See you.
Same here.
Bye-bye. Man, that was a good show. My story. Oh, my gosh. Got to get right in my book, man. I got a lot of stories, and the book will probably tell most of them. But thanks for watching the show, everybody. Stay tuned for these great messages. Without these wonderful sponsors, this wouldn't be possible. Have a great sports week, everybody. So long.
Arbitrium Consulting for all your fencing, landscaping, pressure washing, tree trimming needs. Call 850-483-0350 for your free estimates. Serving Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, Destin, Perdido, Gulf Shores, Foley, and the entire Gulf Coast. Arbitrium Consulting is owner-operated, fully licensed and insured. Call today, 850-483-0350, the official landscaper of Coach's Corner.
Over 30 years, you have seen the orange Beck signs all over the Gulf Coast listing a property for sale or lease. Beck Partners is your trusted advisor in commercial real estate, property management, commercial and personal insurance. Senior Vice President David Valletto has been with Beck Partners since 1989. Take advantage of his wealth of knowledge by calling him today at 982-7352, 982-7352. Extensive experience in all aspects of leasing, sales, management, and site selection will make sure your expectations are exceeded.
75 years of service in high-tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High-tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than the simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.